welcome to another episode of Postpartum Connections. And I'm your girl, Tashia, and this is Ashley Davies. We're back again, and we have a friend with us today.
Hey.
Yes! On this episode, we are going to be talking about developmental delays and navigating the system. So last episode, we talked about milestones and how to maneuver with different and achieving different milestones and developmental delays. Today, we're going to be continuing that conversation and being able to recognize how we can navigate the system and knowing the difference between a developmental delay and autism. And I have our friend here, Miss Alicia Ann Samuel.
Hey.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So she is a Caribbean American, proud mom of a neurodivergent toddler boys. Two, yes. She's a devoted auntie, older sister, daughter. She's also a licensed mental health counselor, practicing in Florida and New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Yes, with over 10 years of experiences. That's good. That's beautiful. She's a visionary behind Therapeutically Beautiful. I love that. She serves as the executive director for her newly launched nonprofit, Grounded Giggles Incorporated. And she is also the clinical supervisor of the Journey Institute Incorporated, and also the chair of the Florida Association for Infant Mental Health Broward chapter. Wow, that is a mouthful.
So many titles.
And that was just a short.
That was just a short. I love it. All while working on your doctorate.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Students, to add all of that.
Oh, man.
So your mission is simple, right? Mm-hmm. To help others find the beauty amidst their chaos and rediscover the power within their healing journey. That is beautiful. When I read that, I was like, finding the beauty within the chaos.
Yes.
Is there beauty within chaos?
It can be. It's a mindset shift, right?
It's a mindset shift. Mm-hmm. Got it. So how did you come about with Therapeutically Beautiful?
Well, for one, it was a Pinterest board. Fun fact.
Okay.
Couple years back with working in a community agency and trying to always find resources to pivot with the clients that I'm working with, I was like, Pinterest came about and I'm like, let me create a board. And I was like, well, therapy is a therapeutically beautiful thing. So it was a Pinterest board. And after a while, I'm just like, well, wait a minute. This sounds like an actual term to use when it looks like when you're going through this process. And as you're healing, even though the challenges have yet to stop, your mindset about how you're dealing with it did. You're shifting it. And so you're able to find the beauty. So it's like essentially walking to a museum and we all see the same thing, but we see it in a different way because, again, our mindset is different about it. Yeah,
I love that. That's important for everyone to take on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. You may experience something. All three of us may experience something, but you take something from it differently. You may take something different from it. That's big. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. All right. Well, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we're just going to jump right into this conversation, right? So when we are talking about developmental delays, is it the same as autism, or are there differences? How can we talk about what is the difference between a developmental delay and autism, or is it one and the same?
Ooh, what a question. So I'm going to ground myself by just starting with, what is development? Just briefly thinking about development as your child's blueprint, right?
Right.
And so now it's like the blueprint about looking into what's going to come about as they age and just, milestones, those terms, right?
Exactly.
So now while you're looking for those things, you might start to see something different. And so I like to always think about the analogy that autism is like the flu and developmental delays is the cold. It's the symptom.
Oh.
Yes. So it's like as you're going through this developmental process and milestone tracking, you realize, well, wait a minute. They're not saying as much words as the doctor is telling me they need to say, or they're not walking within this time frame and all. So you start to realize there's a delay somewhere.
Right.
And then as you continue going through that process, and eventually it brings you to probably talking to a provider or so because you're concerned, as you go through that process, then the provider might say, well, that developmental delay might be an indication that your child has autism, but that's something totally different. That's the actual disorder itself.
Right.
Some children might just be globally developmentally delayed with no autism. It's just a symptom. Right.
How often is that misdiagnosed, like autism?
Quite often.
Wow.
Quite often, and especially amongst our Black and brown kids.
Wow.
Yes, because, again, autism is going back to just that. It's a neurological disorder.
Okay.
And it's the way that they communicate and socially interact. And so it can look a certain way, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, that might be ADHD because they're all over the place. Or it might be that they don't like certain textures, but really and truly it's a sensory processing disorder, which is a whole different disorder.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
So it's like autism is neurological, and making sure we're mindful of, okay, I see this delay, but where is it associated to? Which disorder?
So it sounds like it could be challenging for a parent in terms of like actually getting that diagnosis. Like it could take a long time to get that diagnosis.
It could. Thankfully, we're not that slow anymore, but because there's a lot of resources out there. But if we're navigating cultural practices, if we're navigating just being in an underserved population where you don't have access to these resources and you're not going online and you don't know what to search, or maybe shame and pride, so our feelings kick in and we rather just not see this.
Right.
So I don't want nothing to be wrong with my child, so why would I go and explore this further?
Yeah.
Right?
I completely understand.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So you kind of touched on this as far as autism disorders. So that is a neurological issue. So when we're talking about, and when we talk about the spectrum, like, can you go into more of that when you say the spectrum disorders? What does that really mean for like the parents to understand that a child could be on one level of autism as opposed to another level?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and a good couple years back, we also had what was called Asperger's. So that's like a higher functioning individual who was very much can just mingle with everyone, and you see a slight difference. All of that has now been combined to the spectrum. So now essentially what you're looking at is we have our severe kids who are higher on the spectrum, where it's like you might be looking at nonverbalness. You might be looking at, I'm creating words, nonverbalists. They might be nonverbal. They really aren't having eye contact. They can't, sit here and have these conversations.
Okay.
They need a lot more support through their developmental process. While a level 1 child, just a little more integration into the social environments. Maybe ever so often they need just a sensory place to regroup, and then they can go back and explore with their peers. But whatever it is, it definitely varies as to the needs that they have. So it gets from, I call it baseline, to more extreme, where more hands-on care, a lot more resources have to be pulled versus a child that might just need maybe a fidget toy or just a extra time to test away from other kids to focus.
Yeah.
If a child's on like the severe case of like on the spectrum, are they able to, revert back to like basic? Like, can it be reversed through resources?
I love that question. And that's the question that most parents grieve, because I would tell you no, right? No, there's no reversing, but we can mitigate how severe, right? So he or she may still not be where a level 1 child on the spectrum might be, but with a lot more resources and starting from early. So going back to that whole conversation about why during their development, identifying from an early stage and getting them those resources can help the level be reduced. But if there's nothing happening, they stay in that space. And so it's like, just like when we're going on a job, if they're not training you for your job, how do you do it effectively? So if there's nothing put in place to help train that child, then they essentially stay there.
So just to piggyback off of that, do you see a lot of parents who struggle in that area? And is it more finding resources or knowing what to do, as opposed to in order to help your child move past this or move along, or to support them with this journey that they're on? So
it's like, it's a mix of finding the resources, but also respectfully getting over ourselves, right? We gotta grieve. Sometimes we have this expectation that we were supposed to have this child that came out and they're gonna go and play for the Miami Dolphins when they grow older, or they're gonna be a rock star and pay for all my bills and everything, and then you start to see as they're growing, it doesn't look the same. That dream may not be there. So your dream baby's gone. And and that's a heavy grief that often blocks a lot of our kids from getting the resources because as parents, we're stuck. And when we're stuck, we don't want to hear when someone's diagnosing our child. We don't want to see those delays. Wow. And so it's a balance between getting the resources, but also working on ourselves. So you have to, at some point, release those expectations and learn to grow with that little one where they're at.
Wow. That's deep.
That was deep.
I'm like, you're saying you have to get over yourself. And it's just like, when you recognize you're pregnant for 9 months, 9 to 10 months, right? And you're in this and you're like, okay, I'm bringing forth this beautiful life. And then all of a sudden, as this child is growing and you're getting to this stage of like, oh, okay, so this is not necessarily going to be an easy, I mean, parenting's not easy at all. Right? So when we add in a shift to where you're going to have to learn about something that you have no idea about, and you have that grieving process, I never would have thought that as a parent you were grieving that. That is, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a point where we're looking at ourselves and recognizing that we also have work to do.
Right, right. And even to add to that too, sometimes we forget that even during the pregnancy, we may have experienced some things that we didn't work through. And that also can, that baby is also observing that. So if you've gone through trauma, if you've had your own, because I'm seeing a lot of adults right now, especially adult women, who are being late diagnosed with autism.
I've seen that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you say late diagnosed with autism, what types of autism, like where on, I guess, the spectrum are we talking about as an adult?
Most are, say, between that level 1 to 3.
Okay.
Because they're able to still get the job and go to college and all, but they struggle to keep the friendships. They struggle to mingle amongst the social peers. They struggle to maybe climb the ladder to some extent and all, and it impacts their way of being, but it's not enough for them to fail at life.
Got it.
And that just goes back to, previous times we didn't have all these resources. People weren't talking about these things as often, so a lot of us kind of went without being diagnosed, and now here we are.
Right.
Raising kids, or also pretty much passing on, say, even if it was a DNA, passing on DNA.
Right.
And now our little ones have a touch of whatever we are carrying, right? And the same thing going into just general mental health, anxiety and depression.
Exactly.
They can take on that as well. So all those things.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, the baby can feel it in the belly.
Right, in utero, right? Yeah.
They feel the anxiety. They feel when you're nervous. They feel when you're happy. They feel when you're sad. So that's a real thing. That's definitely a real thing. What signs can parents look out for when we are looking for a delay or a level of autism? So what questions should we be asking the provider if one of our children is not so-called meeting that milestone to where we're like, okay, this is like a concern that we have?
I would, and I'm biased in the sense I'm about prevention and early identification. So even if it's an ounce of a hachu, go talk to somebody, right? Like, let's not wait anymore. We've done enough waiting, so let's actually talk to someone ahead of time and just kind of just make sure we ourselves are educating on what to look for. So as essentially what as you're asking, like, well, what are those signs? Well, if you're tracking their milestones, you'll kind of have a gist of what some of those signs, at least developmental delays are, because that's where it starts. The symptoms start to build up, right? And then eventually, as those symptoms keep on building, eventually you lead yourself more into the different providers who are going to tell you, well, yes, it might be the autism spectrum disorder, or it might be sensory processing disorder, or so, or it might just be the relationship you're raising that child in, and it's not healthy for the child. And that's making them delay.
Wow. So it could even, we're even talking about environmental at this point.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And so your environment can essentially like stunt a growing process that the child can have.
Even the food that you're giving kids.
That's real. That's real. Man, we are, this is a huge rabbit hole.
I have a question. So what specialists might be involved in developmental delays?
Got it.
What are the
So
different types?
your primary care physician's one. That's the first go-to, hopefully, and also encouraging everyone to have one on standby so that way they have your medical records.
Yeah.
And then they put you to essentially the right person. Depending upon what they're screening and seeing, they might start directly with the occupational therapist, which is going to help for the fine motors and gross motor skills if everything else is fine. Or they might say, go to a speech pathologist if it's a language delay or so happening, communication delay, and because that's all they're seeing. They might tell you also, which is a big one, because a lot of times our kids are being misdiagnosed for not being able to hear properly. So they might tell you to go see a hearing specialist to make sure that your child can hear, because that might cause a delay as well, because they're not hearing.
They're not hearing.
So they're not going to respond to their name. They're not going to go to your commands unless they are looking at you directly, and that might look again like autism or so, and it's not, right?
It could be just like chronic ear infections that they keep getting, and there's like fluid buildup in the ear.
Right.
Wow. And it's just something about being able to stay on top of that. Like, you know, you never really recognize, because you're constantly like, hey, I'm talking to you. Are you listening to me? And you're never really knowing that it's like, okay, well, this might really be an issue.
Right.
This might and it's just like the same with sight. You know, you recognize that your kids may need glasses when they start struggling in school, and you're like, okay, well, I can't see the board.
Struggle. So my youngest, I used to call him Grumpy Bear. I thought he was just grumpy because he always had a screw face like this. And lo and behold, my son needed glasses. I said, oh my goodness.
Wow.
So we caught it in time, but no toddler in the family, no youngster. I didn't even wear glasses till middle school. I said, you did not come here with no sight.
How long did it take to actually get that, like, the glasses? Like, how long did it take? Like,
so he was probably, when did I start noticing? He probably between his 6-month mark is when I start seeing these faces. But I just thought he was just Mr. Serious and just looking at the TV like, what is this and why? And I'm like, you were born already and clearly just taking in the world. I'm like, no, there's something. And eventually, with the primary care, they have their quick little sight vision. They're like, you know what, we're seeing something, let's go to the specialist. And so, I want to say that was pretty much a couple of months before his 1 year, maybe, or 1.5, like around that range. So that took a little time too, because again, I just thought it was a cute little grumpy face.
How many babies have we seen being born that has that old man face? They're always like, why are you so mad? You just got here.
Right.
Wow. Well, I mean, if it's okay, can we segue into, because in your bio we did talk about your children being neurodivergent. Can you share with us what it is that they've been diagnosed with, and how have you, as a mom, been able to maneuver? Yes.
With all those titles.
Right. But my favorite title out of all is mom. My eldest will be 4 in November. So they're both November babies. So and they're 11 months apart. So they're Irish twins.
Wow.
And so the first one was diagnosed with autism by the age of 3.
Okay.
And another shout out to our resource that happens when you go through this process is going to early steps.
Okay.
Which is that birth to 3 range where they screen free of charge, and they have the menu of service providers who are at the table looking at and screening at your child.
Okay.
Screening, not screaming.
And
linking your child essentially to a local agency services to do the out of office services, So
it's like outreach. This is early steps.
Early steps, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when we've gone through the early steps process, and he got linked to a speech. Oh, he got linked first with OT and then with speech afterwards.
Okay. So you needed both.
We needed only OT for a while.
But what age did you need that?
He started the speech probably by the age of 1, 2. We started the process really early as possible because I recognized by 6 months. I'm like, you're not as engaging, or if you are engaging, it's like it's flat, like it's not as responsive. If he is responsive, it's with me or his secure people, but not, which is good, but not with everyone. But essentially, I still saw a difference that I know based on the kids that I work with. And so that's what made me go through that process. And again, family history, it was also apparent that it might occur, so let me just screen for this and check, and we go.
Got it.
So he got diagnosed with autism, did this OT, and then we got linked to speech, because I'm just like, he's talking, but we're not saying full, strong sentences.
Okay.
And also, just to continue his progress, because if you meet him, he's very, very book smart. So he picks on things really quickly, but again, that extra resources helping him put his sentences more together, and we're decreasing some of our behavioral. So again, sometimes behavioral things come up with autism when it's just because of frustration to communicate. So giving him all the hands, a process that's going to help him is what I essentially was doing. And I'm going to throw out there, I'm a single mom with a village. So that has on a whole different layer too, right?
Yeah.
And then my last one, who came right after, is my grumpy bear, just a bundle of joy. He actually was my slower walker. So the eldest was doing things quickly with his gross and fine motor. He kind of was on the slower side. He literally walked September 15th, will make his official 2-year mark since walking. And that's his auntie's birthday. So he's nonverbal. And so again, when we talk about the spectrum, I have 2 different versions of the spectrum in my household. So while my eldest talks, my youngest doesn't. And
he's 3?
He's going to be 3 in November.
In 3 in November.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say his first word was probably no, which shocked all of us. He did not want to leave my sight, and when it looked like Grandpa was getting involved, he made something that was like an echoing sound, like no, like something like that. But he's not forming words right now. But he could communicate and tell you what he needs non-verbally. He's very good with pulling you to where he needs to go, or he's very independent. He'll get it himself. Okay. And so again, another book smart, very great with computer and all, where he's matching things and sorting stuff. It's just we're not talking.
We're just not talking.
And we're not as engaging with our peers. A lot of parallel play and just things that essentially you would see in neurotypical kids with being more engaged by a certain point and sharing. We're not there. And so that's what we're working with. So he started with OT and speech as soon as possible compared to his brother, who I added a speech on afterwards.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. So with you working in this field and you being a new mom, right, 4 and 3, has your professionalism hindered or helped you in your motherhood journey with parenting your neurodivergent children?
It's like 75% great. It helped to put me ahead of the game. And then the other percentage, don't let me do the math. It's almost a hindrance in the sense of I don't always feel like I'm doing enough. Because I'm still providing for everyone else's kids and showing up for them in a certain way. And I'm like, and my dream was, if ever we had to go through this process, I'll be able to homeschool my kids. I would be home more and present. And that's not happening. And so it's like trying to navigate that. And of course we live in a time where it's stressful and, bills need to be paid, right?
Yes, that's capitalistic society.
Right. Yeah. So you have to sometimes choose to go make the extra funding and then come back and tackle it. And it's like, I know what they need, but I'm one person having to do it all. So it's that goes back to just needing that village and the support.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once we say that, it really truly takes a village to raise a child. Absolutely.
How have you dealt with the diagnoses, like mentally and emotionally? Not just 1, but 2.
So 2, the second one, I would say it shocked me, but that one probably hit me a little bit more. It's like, dang, it's 2. It's 2, and it's just me. And our village is aging because it's grandma and grandpa are still working grandparents and a great grandmother, which is my grandma. And so, it's just like, and then I come from a Korean background. What is autism? What is mental health? Right?
It's not talked about.
It's not. Right?
It's not talked about. It's automatically seen as, oh no, there's something wrong, but we're not going to talk about what's wrong.
Right. We're going to pray it away.
That right there.
Just pray.
Yes.
It's not there. And I'm grateful that my parents weren't like that or my family wasn't. But even sometimes I find that I always get told, I don't want to be therapized. That's the word, right? I don't want to be therapized. So they don't want me to share what I know, because then that means that they have to do the work sometimes. And that means digging a little bit in themselves and then having to connect the pieces. Well, was this my gene? Was this kids come from you?
Yeah.
Or, you know, so having to navigate that way, I'm just like, okay, like I'm fine with it. I essentially, if I had the village I wanted in the way I know that they need, I would have been okay. Like, I actually think sometimes I have my own neurodivergent spots, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to no one either, and I just want to be to myself. So I get it. You know, I'm a visionary because it made me, I think differently, and I wasn't diagnosed with anything, but I'm like, it still probably comes from somewhere. So I was okay with that. It was just the lack of support, and I know what they need, and to give it to them is hard. So that's the grieving process, is like, am I doing enough? And so I have to always reaffirm myself, like, you are showing up. They may not thank you with words, but when they still come to you for the hugs and want your attention and all, like the youngest is my Velcro baby. So hey, if I woke up this morning to go work at an event and he's like, where are you going? You know, like, he's right there up with me. So it's like, you know, those are little gentle reminders that I am doing, but I know it could be better.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. What can you say to parents that is potentially going through this grieving process that you've mentioned, and how can, like, what's one thing that they can do to try to take a step in coming to terms and recognizing, I guess, that grief that you're speaking of?
Right. So it's sitting with the feeling, right? We all like to run away. Like, we want to brush the feelings under the rug. We don't want to address it. We don't want to recognize that there's an elephant in the room. And the first step is just, let's sit with it. Let's sit with whatever it is. Identify it. I hate this. I'm angry. I can't believe I had a baby for this person. Like, whatever it is, you know, I should have known better. Like, sit with it. Write it down. Put everything out on paper. Like, be present with your thoughts and feelings. You know, allow them to come, but don't become it. Okay. So it's like, you know, just, but you know, whatever you have to do to just allow yourself to, like, well, what am I feeling today? What is this thing that someone just told me? Was it a death sentence? You know, what was my expectations that I had, and what is it going to look like going forward? And just kind of just start.
It's really important to like acknowledge, accept.
Right, because you know, there's a 5 stage of grief. You know, you essentially, it's like you got the news and now you're like, whoa, denial, like shocked. I'm angry about this. I become depressed, right? And then eventually you get to the stage when you're doing the work, you learn to accept. It's like, okay, I accept it for what it is, right? And it's going to come with its ups and downs. Some days I might be sad. Some days I'm going to be happy. And I'm okay with that. It's no longer going to shock my system anymore.
Right. Well, that's real. That's real. So what kind of resources would you like to leave behind to share? I know you mentioned early steps. Is there anything else that you can let our viewers know, our parents know that have children that they're struggling with, and where they can reach out to get the support that they need?
So, you know, here in Florida, we have Fiddler. So after early steps is Fiddler, and forgive me, Florida Diagnostics something. Just
we'll link it below.
So many acronyms.
Leave the information. Yes.
So many acronyms to remember, but that's FDRRO, something like that. So and that's after you do early steps, you go into that process. Because going back to my eldest, after we finished early steps, we were thinking about going into the school system. And so that's where the Fiddler and all those took into place. So they start to screen again for the older kids and put in those places. So depending on the age, but again, your PCP, that's the first step. And making sure you do all medical screenings. And sometimes we have to do that genetic test going forward and just to make sure and see what's going on. Looking for, as I said, to share, I chair the Florida Association for Infant Mental Health. Looking for your local AIM. So in Broward, we are the Broward chapter, looking for professionals that are part of that or at least partnerships. Your Children's Service Council as well. They have plethora of everyone who are providers in the neighborhood.
Multiple resources through the Children's Services Council.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. The Journey Institute, Inc. is a great one I got to put out there.
Yes.
Beautiful nonprofit. It's a pediatric behavioral health agency working with the birth to 5 population and moms and dads. So we have groups in that as well.
Nice. Like support groups?
Support groups and individual services if necessary. And screening for our little ones as well, developmental screenings. Making sure, and we didn't go too much into assessments, but ask for like the assessments that they're doing. But the important ones are like the ages and stages questionnaire and the general one, as well as the social emotional one, because that's what's going to help you screen further for your autism.
And there's there's 2 types when you're saying with these ages and stages.
Yes.
Got it.
So ASQ3 and ASQ-SE.
Ah, okay. ASQ3, ASQ-S3.
SE.
SE, sorry.
Right, so, and, just asking, like, what are their links to these services? Because I'm going to be honest, too, that some of these providers kind of just work with one another to continue fattening their pockets, and it's not always the greatest services.
Got it.
So being able to know just what to look for, what to ask for, and doing your research as much as possible. We all have access to Google, whether it's on our phone or at the library, but you can search, infant mental health, put that term in, or put early relational health. Those are concepts that will help at least bring out resources. 0 to 3 is our national-wide resource to look for more articles and journals and workshops that happen. What else is there? There's so many.
Those are a few, and we really do appreciate you sharing that and just being able to recognize that everybody has a different parenting journey, and we all have to stay on top of what it is that we need for our children. Whether they are on the spectrum, neurodivergent, have a delay, everybody has to make sure that we are pouring into our children in the most appropriate way for them. Advocating for them. That is the other part of the parenting journey.
A big one, and I'm still learning. So shout out to the parents who master it. I am still learning.
And we're all still
The advocacy piece is probably the biggest thing, at least in my journey so far, is just, and that's probably where I get the conflict between being the professional and then being the parent. I might advocate differently as a professional, like, let's keep it this way. But then as a parent, I'm like, oh no, I need it this way. So
got it.
It's always a dance at times.
Got you. Because you're questioning, like, okay, well, what would I do if I was coming to me?
Right, exactly.
Got you.
Or how do I want me to be for me?
Exactly.
Right.
How do you want your parents to show up when they're sitting in front of you? Exactly. Well, this has definitely been eye-opening for myself, and I hope this has been eye-opening for you all, and you have been able to grasp some really great information from this episode. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're an awesome mother. And continue doing the great work that you're doing here in South Florida. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. See you next episode. Bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Broward Healthy Start Coalition, promoting the health and well-being of women, infants, and families across Broward County. Because every mother deserves a healthy pregnancy, and every baby deserves a strong start in life. To learn more, call 954-567-7174.